Hello, hello. Welcome back to EdgeMate, the podcast where we talk to business leaders, entrepreneurs, and salespeople and see what their edge in the marketplace is. I'm your host, Chad, Bridgepoint Technologies, tech advisory firm. And our guest today is Jack Spilberg from AVI SPL. They are one of the largest AV distributors for conferencing equipment and whatnot. We'll get into more of that later. But before we do that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then how you came to get to AVI SPL?
Sure thing. Yeah. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed your past episodes, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
You and all 5 subscribers.
Maybe it'll be 6 after this. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
I came to AVI SPL from a background in technology and experience design. Started working in my career at early stage startups that ended up scaling pretty quickly. Places like Pandora, another early social media company called Mevo that was ultimately acquired by Google. Spent some time at Comcast, and then also some time at some boutique digital experience design companies where we were doing some pretty interesting creative work. And that all led me to AVI SPL. AVI SPL is the world's largest commercial audiovisual integration firm. We have offices all over the world. And for those of you that are not familiar with the AV space, basically what we focus on are audiovisual design and installations in all kinds of businesses, venues, and then in particular, a big line of business for us is doing video conferencing, design and installation in corporate
So big time in the collaboration space.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're friends with all the Zooms and the Ring Centrals and the 8x8s of the world.
Get everybody up and running what they need for this interesting time in the workplace, which is all about hybrid and return to office.
RTO, return to office. The millennials and Gen Z don't like that. Like, hell no. No RTO. Hell no, we won't go. But from my before COVID, I think everybody was used to going to work every single day. And then with COVID, no one was going to work. So I think the best approach to maximize everyone's happiness probably is like a hybrid model, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what the research and statistics are proving out now, that a hybrid model is definitely the most productive, efficient way to go. Before the show, I pulled together a few stats just because I'm fascinated by this, and this is kind of my day in, day out, is helping companies get their return to office strategy.
I'm pretty technically savvy, so I might even actually be able to put some of these percentages on the.
Well, I'm a stats nerd, so I love to rattle these off. I thought it was interesting. 85% in the workplace say that they'd be more motivated by rebuilding team bonds in general in person, according to a Cisco survey. 77% of Fortune 100 companies like Amazon, AT&T, Ford, Dell, they all now operate under a hybrid working model. That's according to McKinsey. 72% of the companies that have implemented return to office policies have noticed an increased revenue when a return to office policy has been set. And I think that's pretty powerful. It's showing now in companies' bottom line that when people do come into the office under either hybrid or different type of policy, that their sales are improving and increasing, and that can be for a number of reasons.
I just figure like in a hybrid approach on the days you're not in the office, you're just locked in, zoned in your dungeon or whatever you want to call it, just getting things done. And then when you go to the office, that's where you get to mind share, meet up with your team build. And and whatnot.
Yeah, and it's like these random moments that happen, conversations in the hallway and things like that. Google's notorious for designing their entire office experience to enable people to kind of get out of their headspace and mingle and
play some foosball.
Yeah, absolutely. With people on different teams, and that sparks creativity and innovation. And I think we're slowly starting to kind of get back to that. And now that a hybrid type of model is in place, it allows for even more flexibility and satisfaction from workers, because they're not forced to be at the office full time, but they have that good work-life balance of being able to work from home and also be in the office with their peers.
Yep. Well, so we have like a format on EdgeMate. So that was a good intro. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of the show. We have an icebreaker phase, which will come next. Don't worry. The questions are very, they're meatballs. They're very softballs over the plate. And then we got the SWOT analysis where we can even dig in even more the RTO. Very interested in that. And then, last but not least is the tarot reading.
Right.
And so you pulled the card. I already know what it is, and it just kind of will be like a synopsis of what we've been talking about in this show. Right. And for some reason, it's just I'm always right. No.
Of course.
Tarot master. No. So okay. So basically, I'm gonna, in no particular order, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
All right.
If you could change one thing about the way you were raised, what would you change? Wow, that's deep.
If I could change one thing about the way I was raised, I grew up in the 80s. I'm an 80s kid, latchkey kid for sure.
Oh, I remember that term. I mean, I am too, I guess. That's why I remember it.
And, there's some wonderful moments about that. But now having my own kiddo of my own young son, it's like it's a very different time. I think it's interesting, like my kid, and I think kids these days growing up right now, it's like, we're all over them. They don't have a lot of freedom, whereas when I was a kid, I had a lot of freedom. So I'd say, there's probably a middle ground that's probably a little bit healthier, right? Like instead of just having kids completely locked down or completely free, I'd say, looking back at my childhood, maybe somewhere in the middle might have been a little bit of a healthier balance or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I think our kids are around the same age, and I drop him off at summer school, and I let him make the walk there on his own. But then I'm like, all right, text me when you get there. I don't know. So paranoid. Yeah. Hey, only the paranoid survive, especially your kids. Right. No. The CEO of Intel wrote that. Well, not the existing CEO, but the past one. Anyways. All right. Other question. When have you kept quiet when you should have spoken out?
Oh boy, the first thing that comes to mind there are relationships. But when have I kept quiet when I should have spoken out? I think it happens in professional situations also. You've got kind of a power structure to deal with. So I always appreciate being in a work environment or working with customers where
maybe RTO could help with that.
There's open communication and trust. So. I think that's just an indication. If I look back at a situation where, maybe I should have spoken out when I didn't, it sort of tells me that there's probably a bigger picture problem in place where there isn't the right kind of trust or comfortability in place. So it's always good to explore that type of thing.
Yep. I like that. Yeah, relationships and in business. Because it's a fine line. It's almost like you got to choose where you'll have the least amount of regret. By not speaking, will you have the least amount of regret, or if you do speak, the least amount of regret? You got to play that balance. Because if you don't say anything and something ends up bad, are you gonna be like, ah?
That's right. Yeah, relating. It's all about kind of calibration and trying to make the right decision in the right moment, especially when things are difficult. It can be so challenging.
Yep. All right. Well, that was the icebreaker phase. Pretty deep questions, to be honest with you. I've had some easier ones in the past. So this is a very serious episode, apparently. On to the next, the SWOT analysis. So give me some strengths of AVI SPL and how it pertains to the RTO industry. Like how are you, primed and ready to fulfill this phenomenon?
Yeah, absolutely. AVI SPL being the world's largest AV integrator, we're in great position to cover anybody's needs across the globe at an enterprise level. So well suited for that. I think coming up with a good AV strategy in general for return to office is something that seems to be overlooked for a lot of facilities and IT leads. And there's a quote I heard from, I wrote it down just to make sure I got it correctly, from Chuck Robbins, CEO of Cisco. He said, "Workplaces need to be a magnet, not a mandate." I think that's powerful. And he said, a space so inviting and supportive of collaboration and creativity that's hard to resist, but not every day. And I think that really kind of nails it on the head. So
not a moth into the flame either.
Right. So I think the strengths, the first like core strength of having a great AV strategy when it comes to return to office is to be that magnet, to design an experience in a space where it becomes that magnet, like the CEO of Cisco mentioned, where people are so pumped to come back. It's adding fuel to the fire of that hybrid model when you've designed your space with the AVI touch points that make sense and that are functional. So that can be a huge strength when it comes to AV integration into workspaces when you're trying to design your return to office strategy. As far as weaknesses go, if you
I'm the one that slowly roll there, buddy.
Right. Go for it. I'm ready.
No, but yeah, we're ready. Yeah, that's a good segue. Weaknesses. W for what would be a weakness of that your company may has or challenges in RTO or maybe just in your industry in general?
Yeah, I'd frame it like this: a weakness of not coming up with the right AV strategy, having the right AV equipment in your space. When you have people returning to office, you're going to run into problems. There's another stat I thought was really interesting. 87% of meeting rooms globally are not video enabled. And if you think about all the meetings, the conferences you've been on recently, there's always going to be somebody dialing in. And think about that clunky experience. Like I was in the office last week in an office where we couldn't get the video conferencing system working. And me and my manager were huddled around my computer. It was awkward. We were shoulder to shoulder. We had to keep sticking our heads in the camera frame. We've got a customer on the end just looking at us like, what are you guys doing? Are you holding hands? Like, it's just awkward. So, if you want to have an enterprise level professional experience, really considering AV, considering your video conferencing systems, making sure they're at the state of the art, it's so critical. Otherwise, you're going to be coming across as unprofessional. You're going to be frustrating your staff, a whole slew of problems.
Bottom line, more efficiencies, things to get, the more collaboration you have, the more you can get things done.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Yep.
And you don't want to hold back innovation.
No. Yeah, absolutely. So
what are some opportunities? We keep on mentioning is RTO the opportunity then? Opportunities within industry for your company to exceed and.
Well, of course, like for any AV integration companies similar to AVI SPL or for ourselves, we're finding great opportunities as people start returning to the office, needing to update their systems and equipment. But I'd say for folks listening that are responsible for strategies, developing RTO strategies and coming up with plans for their AV equipment in their spaces, the opportunities can really go beyond what you might be thinking of. Just maximizing your CapEx and expenditures is a huge one. Thinking about using some of these new tools that Microsoft and Cisco in particular are developing to create efficiencies within the office. You can do things like tracking occupancy for different conference rooms so you can see whether or not different rooms are being utilized to their fullest potential. If you've got a big conference room, for example, that you see over and over only 2 or 3 people are using, maybe it's time to split that conference room into 2, make it more efficient. So, there's a lot of opportunities for facilities managers, IT managers to use these new tools that are available out there to maximize their CapEx expenditures and also, create great experiences for people returning to the office.
Do you guys provide equipment for podcasts? I'm all for an AVI SPL sponsorship or donation.
I had a few tips for you coming in here, but I think this is a great little setup you got going, and we can. I'll send you a proposal.
Always willing to learn. Hey, all news is good news. And then threats. Like, what are threats to your company?
Threats to our company. It's a competitive.
Or to your own competition.
Yeah, and again, I think framing it in the context of this return to office conversation. A threat for us is if we're not designing systems in the way that people need them. So we're highly collaborative, very relationship-led type of organization. So we really like to understand what our customers are dealing with, see their spaces, and figure out the right types of solutions for them. So,
or the culture in general, people not wanting to go back, right? That's why it has to be that to create that magnet.
yeah, there's little nuances too, like we were talking about earlier, where some people, they don't mind coming into the office and having a hot desk, but there are other people that want to be in the office 5 days a week, and they like to have their picture of their family on their desk.
Oh.
So, really just understanding those little nuances about the individuals within your organization,
That's a good
within your
point.
workspace, and designing
Case by
around
case
that.
basis,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
not all. It's not like
Yeah.
all black Model Ts.
And I think the real threat for missing the mark when it comes to designing your AV systems in your workspace incorrectly or without good strategy in places that people won't come in. It's that magnet versus mandate analogy again. It's like if people aren't happy, if things aren't working, you're going to be putting yourself at risk of having people just flat out refuse to come to the office. And that's going to create problems for retention and recruiting, and really end up affecting your bottom line ultimately.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that was awesome. Appreciate all that information. Now for the real reason why people tune in,
That's right.
the tarot card. You picked the 5 of rods, and you can see like there's a bunch of people trying to construct something, it looks like. And rods mean, actually, that's what pretty much symbolism of rods are, is putting things together, building something. I think that's what you're trying to do over there at AVI, build something. But the card means, though, is actually competition, facing obstacles, but at the same time, having resilience, persistence. So this is more of a sales, focus and getting things done. But as you can see, though, there's a bunch of people trying to work together. I think some of them are fighting, but
in person, in real
teamwork,
life.
like me and you. Yeah, let's do some networking. Let's do some team working.
Yeah, they're doing it together in real life, not over Zoom.
Exactly, and that's a good point. You took this. Yeah, I literally was going to say like we can move this to, overall to like collaboration, the teamwork over not only in real life, the RTO. It's very hard to do that, from afar. And then effective communication. I'm with you. Communication is usually better in real life than it is from afar or over a PC. So I think this card and these cards are picked randomly. I mean, you just got to trust me on this. Another tarot card, a perfect pull. Oh my gosh. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Jack. That was awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And till next time. Have a wonderful week.